Mr. Mitchell is before the court for sentencing.
Jim Mitchell appears before you, Judge, truly remorseful for what he has done. Sometimes people are only remorseful because they get caught. He sees that on a number of occasions, but that's not the case with my client. When the investigation started in this matter, Mr. Mitchell cooperated to let the police know which kids he had touched. He wanted to avoid the emotional turmoil that could happen for the children by having to go through a court process. So he pled guilty regarding every child that he touched. He hoped that that would help in reducing the emotional effect that it would have on them in having to participate in the court process, in the court proceeding. And now sentencing is here. My client's taking full responsibility for what he did. He hopes that today's sentence will help with the healing process.
The impact on the community is great. In addition to all the people that are affected by a lack of trust, there's all those people that do devote their lives to service of children and developing children in this community who he has affected. If he discourages one person from going into that field because of the retribution of this case, that alone is a loss to this community. He has done something to the service area that will cause parents not to trust other responsible people who would help their child otherwise grow up and be a productive adult. So this community needs a message from the court. This crime was horrific. It was practiced by him for his own personal, no matter what he tells the court, for his own personal gratification. And he did it in an area where he would have access to unlimited number of victims. And I agree. He came forward and confessed immediately, but he did only confess to those victims who came forward or who were interviewed by the Petoskey Department of Public Safety.
Mitchell, do you wish to speak on your own behalf?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. I've been in jail for 60 days. I've had plenty of time to think about what I've done. I read all the charges. I read all the initial reports that I put together with the police department. And I agree that I should have been removed from the teaching system. I do not take this lightly. As a result of putting the cumulative information together with the police department on what I've done, I do understand the gravity of what I've done and the weight that it carried. And I almost gave up on life. I've never been that low before. I'm not equipped to deal with that, and I hope I never go there again. I'm already paying for this before I even get a sentence. I've had my freedom taken away, I've had my home taken away, I've had a business that I worked on for 10 years taken away. I no longer have contacts.
Please stay silent, sir. If you can't, wait outside.
I no longer have contacts with anybody that's related to anything that I've ever done related to this field again. It's over with for me. All I asked for from the very beginning of the case, and as the case progressed and I learned more information, I wanted more. All I wanted was help on this. I've been in this business for over 30 years. I prided myself on a safety record for these kids, and it's known throughout the industry. I didn't even know that I was capable of doing this much harm to this many people. Those who know me for 30 years, and there are some people that have been with me in this business for this long, as much as it's a shock to them and myself, they know that this is not of my nature. They know that something went wrong. I'm not trying to skate out on this. I did commit these crimes to these children, and I see the damage that's done. I've seen it from the very beginning, and I see it every day in the officers and everybody that's been connected with this. I see it. I feel it. I can't do anything about it anymore. I'm thankful that I was stopped so that there was no further damage to the community. I do have on record a closed head injury. called a subarachnoid hemorrhage. I did have a second fall 2 years ago. No consequences that I know of. I'm not looking for the Twinkie defense. I'm simply just saying that there's reason to justify additional research into why. The question keeps coming back up. Why did this happen? I did not plan it. It's not part of a scheme as they have contrived. I don't have an explanation for it. My facility was set up and designed from the very beginning to have direct access to every single station. Most facilities in the United States that run gymnastics programs do not allow that. I have had and encouraged direct access to every area in that facility and always encouraged the parents to be there. I did not hide or conceal anything. To address the children and their families, to say I'm sorry, it's just not enough. I understand to some degree that the crime of violence that I've learned that I've done, and I've read the victim impact statements. I understand their fears. I feel the same way they do. I do want help. I want an explanation. I feel that at least if I were able to be here today, that I would have if I would have had some type of help, that I would have been able to come up with some type of answer for these folks. I confessed everything to the authorities, gave them more information than they had to help minimize the impact on these children. I agreed to do that in the very beginning. They're going to get their justice. I'll be spending the rest of my life in jail. If by chance I get out in my senior years, I will have nothing. I will have nowhere to go, and I will have no options to do anything. I hope that they heal. That's the only thing I can give left to this. I've given my life to this whole process. Healing is the only thing that I can hope for their families.
This defendant is 55 years old. He is before the court sentencing on 9 plea-based convictions. The most serious crimes to which he's pled guilty are 8 counts of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, which carries a maximum sentence of 15 years. He's also pled guilty to 1 count of aggravated indecent exposure, which carries a maximum sentence of 2 years. The unchallenged description of his actions toward the young victims establishes that he committed not just 9 crimes, but many, many more. This defendant is a sexual predator who abused the trust of the families and these young girls repeatedly to accomplish his selfish and evil objectives. The harm he caused is profound and widespread. The victims and their families have suffered the most, as evidenced by what the court has heard here today. They will continue to suffer the effects of this abusive and harmful behavior well into the future. But this defendant's perverse violation of the little children does indeed affect the entire community. The sentence of this court that this defendant be placed with the Michigan Department of Corrections to serve a term of not less than 10 nor more than 15 years, with credit for 61 days served on each of the 8 counts of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, and to a sentence of 1 year and 4 months to 2 years with credit for 40 days on the aggravated indecent exposure charge. These sentences are to be served concurrently. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing further, Judge.
We will stand in recess for 5 minutes.
All rise.